First things first, Black Lives Matter. That should be obvious. I posted my first episode a couple months ago and took it down immediately because I thought it was insensitive to the movement. But with the football season being less than a month away, I think now is an appropriate time for me to get some facts off. So here are the stone cold facts for the best damn fantasy sports show, period. And I'm going to run through the first 2 rounds based on ESPN average draft position. So we're going to kick it off with number 1, Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he's the lock to go 1, so if you get the first pick, definitely take him. So with the second pick, it's in between Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott, who's going 3rd. So that's kind of a talent based on production type of thing. We got 6 running backs in NFL history that have ran a 4.40 or better, weighing 220 plus. So that's Bo Jackson, Nile Davis, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Herschel Walker, Saquon Barkley. So 2 college Hall of Famers. 4 eventual college Hall of Famers. 2 rookies with week 1 roles, Niles Davis and Saquon Barkley. So compare that to Ezekiel Elliott, who's had the most rushing yards, 2nd most rushing TDs since he's entered the league. Saquon's had hammy and ankle flare-ups. Zeke's never missed a game. And the old saying is you can't win a league in the first round, but you can lose it. So I feel like with the Cowboys adding CeeDee Lamb, who's a yak machine and a deep threat, it's kind of similar to Dez Bryant, which means more first downs, more extended drives, and more red zone opportunities. And he's already led the league in red zone touches last year, Ezekiel did, but this year he has a shot at 20 TDs. So Saquon's line got worse. Also, it's a COVID year, so a good handcuff is imperative. So Tony Pollard averaged 5 yards a carry last year, while Dion Lewis is turning 30. So for those reasons, I would rather have Ezekiel Elliott with the second pick, but I chose Saquon first last year, so I can understand if you want the high ceiling, which is Saquon Barkley. So then there's Michael Thomas or the next 3 running backs available. I would actually rather have Devontae this year, Devontae Adams, and I would take the 3 running backs over both of them. The Saints added Emmanuel Sanders, and Alvin Kamara is 100% healthy. Which running back should you choose? Which one would you go with? Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, or Derrick Henry? Give me Dalvin Cook. Look, I know he's kind of been injured a little bit, but he was 2nd in points per game for running backs last year, 3rd in evaded tackles per game, 2nd in goal line carries per game. He's had more catches. He's in line for more catches without Stephon Diggs, and he's a great handcuff with Alexander Madison. So he has number 1 player potential. And after Dalvin Cook, I would go with Derrick Henry. 1,540 yards rushing, and 1,268 came after contact, meaning that only 272 yards were before contact. Now they drafted Isaiah Wilson from Georgia as the right tackle. He should be a mauler, so I think there's going to be even more yards for him to eat. Also, only 1.7 targets per game last year. They lost Dion Lewis to the Giants, so and they replaced Dion Lewis with a 3rd-round draft pick in Darrington Evans from Appalachian State. I feel like it's obvious that Derrick Henry is going to be featured more in the pass game. So if he plays more on 3rd down, he can be unlimited. Okay. Had to get a Russ reference in. So, Alvin Kamara had 7 targets per game last year, but he also led running backs in targets per reception inside the 10, targets and receptions inside the 10, but had 0 touchdowns from that. So, the lack of goal line efficiency is why I have him 5th. Devontae Adams is going to go off this year, though. Look, he's the 2nd best wide receiver strength of schedule. 1st in red zone receptions per game last year. 2nd in targets per game. 3rd in points per route. 5th in yards per route. And Aaron Rodgers is 100% healthy. You know, he had the sprained knee, was playing on one leg for a lot of the season. So I feel like also they tried to bring in Devin Funchess, and now he's sitting out. So I feel like the potential for him is also unlimited. So after that, look, I love DeAndre Hopkins. He's 4th in points per game, 4th in targets per game, 8th in points per route, and he only finished 32nd in red zone catches per game. So Cardinals offense is much better than the Texans. I feel like he's going to be in the red zone a lot more often. I know there's a little bit of discrepancy over can he adjust to a new quarterback and a new system with a limited training camp. DeAndre Hopkins is a pro, okay? I feel like the touchdowns are going to come back, and so will the old D-Hop. So this might be Julio Jones' best season yet. 3rd in points per game, 3rd in completed air yards, 3rd in targets per game, and only 32nd in red zone target share. So the Falcons lost 258 targets from this offseason, and they replaced Austin Hooper with, just by the way, just for reference, 258 targets, which was 1st. Cowboys was 2nd with 190. So there's a huge difference from 1st to 2nd. So there's a lot of targets to be had. I feel like Julio Jones can break that 160 target mark this year. I don't have a problem with taking him 1st. They replaced Austin Hooper with a guy named Hayden Hurst, who averages 18 yards per game in his career and has 3 touchdowns in 28 games. They added no notable wide receivers unless you count Laquan Treadwell, which I do not. I'm not touching Tyreek Hill this year. He's 11th in points per game, 28th in targets per game. What we got here? 52nd in red zone catches per game. That is pretty horrendous. I know he does the highlight reel stuff, and he drops bombs, and he gets you a big 1 week wide receiver 1 finish, get you like 30 points in a week, 40 points in a week, and then he'll also have a week where he has 3 points. So I feel like with McCole Hardman having that potential sophomore leap year, Sammy Watkins still being around, as well as that Travis Kelce guy. They also added Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who broke the LSU record for most running back catches in this past season. So I feel like there's too many mouths to feed in this offense for Tyreek Hill to be a true wide receiver 1. I think he could possibly slip back to that high receiver 2 that he was in the beginning of his career. Not taking Patrick Mahomes either. Only 26 touchdowns in 14 games, which was a big drop-off from 50. He was 6th in points per game. So if you're going to draft a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round, I would take Lamar Jackson. I feel like, 1st in points per game, 1st in pass touchdown rate, 1st in quarterback rushing yards, 1st in points per drop back. Like, he had the most runs of 10-plus yards in the entire NFL. 47 of those were Derrick Henry was 2nd with 42. You have Hollywood Brown being healthy. Him and Miles Boykin in those sophomore leap years. You've seen guys like Chris Godwin, Odell Beckham Jr., plenty others who have a fine rookie year and then a huge second year. So I feel like with Mark Andrews still ascending as a tight end, I think a lot of experts have been citing quarterbacks like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers as examples of quarterback one regression, saying that, oh, those pass touchdown rates are automatically going to drop down because teams are going to figure him out. Look, those were grown men trying to tackle him last year, okay? Those guys play in the NFL. They couldn't do it last year. He's the most elusive quarterback in NFL history, all right? Quarterback one finish isn't just possible. I feel like it's likely. So I have no problem if you're going to take a quarterback early. Just do your homework and get some super sleepers later. All right. Chris Godwin, another player I drafted last year. Another example of the sophomore leap. Second in points per game. Second most catches over 25 yards. Only 32nd in red zone share, tied with Julio. So 13th in targets per game. I feel like Brady loves his slot receivers. You've seen Edelman and Wes Welker get huge target totals. If you're worried about Tampa Bay playing more two tight end offense, I think he definitely had the same yards per pass route playing out wide as he did in the slot. So I feel like that's mitigated either way. He's a stud receiver, man. Like, he gets open and he's big and he's fast. So he's still one of those ascending players. I could see him having a Michael Thomas type year. I'm not as confident in Travis Kelce as I usually am. Again, McCole Hardman getting better, adding Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's a lot of tight ends in line for a breakout season that you can get in the 5th or 6th or even later rounds. And he'll still be a top 2, top 3 tight end for sure. But I feel like if there's going to be one that you take George Kittle for sure. This is Kittle's year. And keep away from Miles Sanders, guys, in the 1st or 2nd round, unless you're desperate at the end of the 2nd and all the top guys go. Look, he was only 20th in points per game last year. I don't know why he's being drafted super early. 21st in goal line carries, 16th in evaded tackles per game. His pass volume is kind of overrated, only finishing 15th in targets per game. And if you think he broke out when Jordan Howard got injured, Boston Scott outscored him in the last month of the year. Okay, the backup running back outscored him. And Boston Scott is a super sleeper for sure, someone you should think about drafting later. Look, if you're going to take a running back in the late 1st or 2nd, don't be afraid of going back after Aaron Jones. He was 3rd in points per game, 6th in goal line carries, 8th in evaded tackles per game, and he's in a contract year. Jamal Williams was cut back to single-digit touches at the end of the year. I feel like for those reasons, I would definitely take him again. I'm not afraid of A.J. Dillon taking carries because he's a really one-dimensional back, whereas Aaron Jones has shown that he can be an asset in the pass game, and he was also possibly the most dominant guy in the goal line in terms of efficiency. So I would expect a lot of regression from Mike Evans. Like, I know he's been 1,000 yards every year of his career. I'm not saying he won't get to 1,000, but I would hold back on drafting him early. Look, he was 2nd in completed air yards. I know that sounds nice until you remember how much Jameis loves to huck it deep. 84 deep pass attempts for Jameis, and only 50 for Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady's more of a short game manager. He's kind of a West Coast offense type player. And 9th in red zone target share. They've since added Gronk, who Brady loves in the red zone. I would definitely take Godwin over him. I feel like there's no question. I'm not taking Nick Chubb either at his draft price. He was the RB4 in 8 games without Kareem Hunt, but only 21st in RB21 in 8 games with Kareem Hunt. And now you you notice his carries, his receptions, his yards went down with Kareem Hunt in the offense. Now Kareem has another year with Cleveland to get more acclimated. I think that him reaching his ceiling is going to be very hard to do because, in my opinion, I feel like Kareem Hunt is pretty much equal to Nick Chubb. He's a better asset in the pass game, and he's as elusive. He might not have the home run hitter style that Nick Chubb has, but Cleveland's O-line has been iffy forever. So, no offense to Joe Thomas. Look, I love Kenyon Drake, not just for the Miami Miracle, although that helps. He was the RB3 in the second half of the past year. The Cardinals were second in rushing DVOA, which is what I can't remember the Football Outsiders, but it's an equal opportunity measurement, and the Cardinals were second. They also had a franchise record 5.03 yards per carry last year. Cliff knows how to scheme the run game. Okay, like when I see how he does it, it's a lot of stretch game. It's a lot of getting one of the more athletic O-lines out on the edge. They are, I believe it's fourth in most outside runs, which is where Kenyon Drake excels. So he's also an asset in the pass game. I think the sky's the limit for Kenyon Drake. So I would definitely take him in the late first or early second. Look, I'm torn on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he has a killer spin move. He's pretty hard to tackle. He also broke LSU's record for most running back catches. I know I said that earlier, but for a 5'7", 207 running back, he only ran a 4.6 40, which isn't the worst, but it's not exactly home run hitter style. Mahomes targeted running backs 19% of the time. You compare that to Rivers, who threw it 31% of the time to running backs. Mahomes likes to hug it deep. He's one of those deep pass guys. I think he had 80 deep pass targets last season, only in 14 games. Playing for one of the best offenses, yeah, there's running back one upside. There will be rushing touchdowns for him to be had, unless you potentially think that one of the backups can be that vulture, which, Andy Reid's had a tendency to split carries, unless it's Kareem Hunt or someone like Brian Westbrook, who I know they compare to, but they were still, that Deuce Staley, those thick guys that he loves to use. So for those reasons, I'm kind of iffy on him. The running back, the running back one upside's there, but the first round's a little too rich for me for Clyde. George Kittle, he tied Travis Kelce in points per game despite being fourth in targets for tight ends, 12th in tight end deep targets. He's a beast. First in yards per route, second in yards per target. Deebo Samuel isn't healthy, but again, there's tight end sleepers that you can take later, which I will tell you on another episode. Again, I was so happy to see Austin Eckler break out. I said it before, Eckler is better than Melvin Gordon. I've been saying that for like 3 years now. I was happy to see him get the touches he's long deserved. He finished third in running back targets, sixth in points per game. However, Phillip Rivers targeted running backs 31% of the time. Tyrod Taylor only 22% in Buffalo. But he was only 34th in red zone touches per game. With no more Melvin Gordon being there, taking that vulture status away from him, I think that he probably won't finish sixth in points per game, but he's definitely on that RB1 borderline for me. So I definitely target him in the second round. I would hope that I get a couple running backs early, or if I'm forced to take a receiver first, if I feel like all the good ones go at the top of the first round, then I would be praying to get Eckler early in the third. I'm not taking Josh Jacobs unless it's him or Miles Sanders. Is he physical? Yeah. Second in evaded tackles per touch. Had to get a Backstreet Boys little reference in there. But only 35th in targets. The Raiders re-signed Jalen Richard, and they added pass-catching running back Lynn Bowden in there. I would much rather have Joe Mixon, but that is something I will get into the next episode because Joe Mixon is the 25th running back, and I'm only doing the first 2 rounds. Okay, that's it so far. So if you got any questions, any fantasy advice you want, you need help drafting your team, holla at me. I will draft your team for you if you need. Just let me know. All right. This has been Ian Essig. This is the Best Damn Fantasy Sports Show, period. And I'm out.